Build smart, move fast, get the edge at last. This is the catalyst.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining
Good
us.
morning, Brad. Morning, everybody.
For those of you who are not sure where you are, let me just first of all say welcome to everybody. And if you're wondering where you are, this is the first Lunch and Learn of 2026, and it is brought to you by the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce. So we're all very excited to be here, very glad that you are all here. And the topic of this Lunch and Learn today is marketing. And the official title, if you're taking notes, is Marketing 2026, Your Space, Your Growth, Your Future. So we're going to be talking about marketing today. For those of you who are joining looking for a salsa dancing class, that's a different one. This is about marketing. My name is Brad Pollock, and I will be your host and the moderator today. And I am the director of the Long Beach City College Small Business Development Center, which is also affectionately known as the SBDC. And the SBDC is a very cool program. It's a national program that provides no-cost business advising to businesses that are getting started and to businesses that are growing. And I'm joined today by some extraordinarily wonderful, very accomplished professionals who are going to be talking about marketing. But before I introduce each of my colleagues, I wanted to just point out why we've chosen marketing as this topic for this first Lunch and Learn of the year. And that's because we all know that marketing is important to all of us. Any business in any industry has to be involved in marketing in one form or another. And we also know that marketing is a multi-headed hydra that can be hard to grapple and deal with and understand how to navigate and so on and so forth. So the idea today for today's conversation is just to sort of shed some light on a few areas of marketing that might be a little bit of a mystery to us. And our experts are going to talk about their respective areas of expertise in marketing. So it's just a conversation about marketing. And along the way, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, just type in the chat. It'd be best to type a question mark and then type your question so we know that you have a question. And we're going to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. All right. So it's about marketing. We're very glad you're here. I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation. And I wanted to start off by introducing the first of our four panelists, Leslie Smith. Leslie is a public relations and marketing consultant in Long Beach. She's a fantastic PR professional. She established McCormick LA Public Relations in 1994, primarily serving small businesses and nonprofits with their strategic promotional needs. She's a great resource when you really want to understand how can PR fit into my marketing mix. Leslie is superb at what she does. So welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Brad.
Very, very happy to have you as part of the panel. The next professional I'd like to introduce to the world is Mr. Sullivan Lewis. Sullivan, welcome. Sullivan, in case you didn't know, you are the CEO of Concept Lab Marketing, which specializes in organic social media. And I know we'll be talking about what organic social media is in a bit. And marketing automation that helps brands grow efficiently and authentically. You lead high impact strategies for national wine consumer goods, political and healthcare organizations, blending creative storytelling with smart systems that drive measurable results. So Sullivan, again, welcome to the conversation. Next, we have Mr. Isaac Svensson. Welcome, Isaac. You are a filmmaker and the CEO of your company, Seven Sun Media, and you are the current president for the Long Beach Chamber's Young Professionals. You've served on the board of Long Beach Public Media, and you were the chief engineer of Long Beach Public Radio, KLBP, 99.1 on your FM dial. And your company lives in the cross sections of business development, marketing, and storytelling. Storytelling, the key part of marketing. So Isaac, welcome to the conversation.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Last but not least is our leader, the leader of the Long Beach Chamber Business Council, Chris Gregson. And you are the owner of Local Lens AI, which is a full service digital marketing agency that specializes in affordable search engine optimization for local small businesses. And since the start of Local Lens AI, You have helped hundreds of business owners with their online marketing. And your marketing packages include things like local SEO, pay-per-click advertising, web design, AI overview optimization, and LLM-powered content solutions. So we have a great variety of experts here to join in the conversation to talk about marketing. So the way it's going to go down is I'm going to be asking questions of our panelists. And if you have questions that you would like to ask as a result of anything that comes up, please just type your questions into the chat and we will get to them along the way. So getting the ball rolling, I'd like to start with you, Leslie, if I could. And the first question is really about public relations. Most business owners assume that a public relations consultant is someone that you hire to clean up a crisis solution or situation. But you say that's not so. Can you tell us what you mean? How does a small business incorporate PR into their daily promotions?
Sure. Great question. So, and it's a common fallacy. People think, well, I don't need PR. I do everything right. And that's, yes, PR people, crisis communications people can come in and help you clean up a mess. Absolutely. But if you're doing things along the way, people already know and like you. So if a crisis comes in, they're much more willing to listen to your side of the story. So if you think of, and some people think that PR is not even part of marketing, they think it's something different. But and that's another thing that people mistake, you need to look at, the marketing mix of your product, your price, your place, and your promotion. And then part of that promotion is public relations. And it's straightforward how you relate to your public, because all business is built on relationships. And you create those relationships by doing those things that a friend would do out in the community. So you may be doing those things already. You may have a PR plan in place that you exercise every single year that you haven't thought of being PR. You may say thank you for referrals. You may have referral gifts. You may send out holiday cards. You may go to tabling events to meet more people. You may speak at engagements, speaking engagements. You may go out and volunteer, lead a team with your company logo. All of those things build that know, like, trust, continuum that we want to do. When people know you and you've created rapport with people, they're much more likely to use you and to refer you. And then when crisis happens, they're going to say, I'm sure this was just a bad day. There's some misunderstanding. There's no way that this person did something that horrific. And then you move forward from there. Let the crisis person definitely advise you.
So creating rapport with people, you mentioned that seems to be a key component of PR, right?
Absolutely.
And is that something that you focus on mostly? Like, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 things that you help clients with when it comes to PR?
Sure. And it's scale appropriate, right? So if you only need, 4 or 5 clients to, succeed, maybe they're each paying you a $5,000 retainer or something, and you just need a few, then I would help you create, figure out who your target market is, be very clear who you're serving, set up some listening times, like find out what they really need. What are their pain points? And then start cultivating those relationships one-on-one. If you only need a few at a time, it's very easy to schedule some lunches, schedule even some lunch and learns with maybe 10 people where you get to know them a little bit more and they get to know you. You have some casual conversations and you go from there. Now, if you have a product that's maybe a $49 class online and you can have 1,000 clients, then let's cultivate that relationship a little bit different using video, using your AI, what Chris and Isaac can help you with, and Sullivan, getting those bigger exposure places will help you build rapport that way. It can be through video. It can be through something like this with a Q&A with your public. So they get to hear what your philosophy is. What is your take? What is your experience? All of those things help. And then you have to back it up with a really great website that has that information about you where people can mine for information, see reviews about you, and all sorts of other things that give you that social capital that make them trust you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Leslie. I know that there does seem to be confusion from time to time, at least when we talk with our clients at the SBDC about what PR is and how that differs. And I'm always adamant that PR is very much a part of the marketing mix, very much.
Absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely. If you have a bad
so
reputation, you're just done.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, thank you for that.
absolutely.
Next up, I'd like to move to you, Sullivan, if I could, to talk about, first of all, what is organic social media and what's the biggest mistake you see businesses make with their organic social media strategy? So, starting with what is organic social media? We hear this term, but what does that mean? And what are some of
Yeah,
the big mistakes that people make with that?
yeah. So the word organic in that sense really differentiates organic social media from the paid versus Google ads, Meta ads, things of that nature. And so the organic is really the daily post, the weekly posts, whatever the cadence may be, the story that you're telling online. So that's what I would consider organic social media. Use of it and the mistakes that individuals make is one, not posting. That's probably the biggest mistake. And
Absolutely.
just thinking that your social media content needs to be, so refined and look professional and things of this nature. And really in today's social media landscape, people are really craving authenticity. They're craving raw and authentic and real. And so, especially with as much AI content that exists out there already. So, and Chris will probably talk about this more, but even in paid social media, some of the best ads aren't very pretty. They're not super refined, some of the best performing ads. And so with organic social media, it's really about telling your story and telling, who you are, what you offer, and why it matters.
So, for somebody who's just trying to figure out how to create a social media strategy, it would seem that organic social media is key. So you're not starting
Sure.
out by spending a ton of money and not knowing what you're doing. You need to sort of work your way through the process. What do you find are some of the stumbling blocks that companies face when they're starting out trying to create an organic social media strategy? What are the big stumblers?
The big stumblers is not really solidifying their content pillars. So just really solidifying their brand, who they are, and what they want to say about their brand. There's content pillars are when I speak about content pillars, we're talking about the angle or the lens your message or your visuals are coming from, um and and also not having branded content, right? And so but when we're talking about content pillars, where people are looking for either education, entertainment, inspiration, things of those nature. So all of your messaging and all of your content should come from one of those lenses, because just posting for the sake of posting is not necessarily effective either.
Well, sure. No. So I know, and we'll talk further about that, I'm sure. But I think that there seems to be, uh, it's generally the case that one of the one of the hurdles is trying to think of what content to post. How do you
Yeah.
keep coming up with content? And perhaps, if you had mentioned education, entertainment, inspiration, that would lead me to think, if I were trying to come up with some sort of consistent social media strategy, maybe each week I'd do something that has to do with, like, one day of a week, I might do something that has to do with education. And then maybe another thing I would do that same week, but maybe a couple of days later, would have to do with entertainment, something that's entertaining, something. And then the third would be, something that you feel is inspiring. So that's actually very helpful, Sullivan, because uh, I believe that seems to be a big holdup, which is, what do I post, and
Yeah.
and why would people care about what I'm
Why
posting?
do people care? That's the biggest thought that I hear clients or business owners say. Well, here's the thing: every industry, everything has its nuances, right? It has its every industry has its stereotypes. It has its for tips and things of that nature. So you can talk about that in your social media. For example, if you're in a marketing capacity, you would talk about the changes and the vast amount of changes that are happening in marketing and happening with AI. You talk about the nuances in marketing, and maybe even poke fun about some of the nuances of marketing. All of that stuff is fun, and people want to see that because people are looking to your business because of you. They're first interested in you. And then secondly, they're interested in the product or the service you offer. And so if you just focus on those things and share those things in a way that's clear, and in the way that you're communicating, really who you are, you're going to be successful on social media.
Yeah, I think that's very sound advice. And I think sometimes too, people feel that what might be obvious to a business owner, like, oh, that's so obvious, I'm not going to post that. It isn't obvious to other people necessarily. And the other thing too that might be helpful as you're thinking about what to post, and we'll get into this with Isaac in a second, but as to think of marketing, I think of marketing as storytelling. I think of marketing in its simplistic form as the act of telling stories and having those stories spread. That's what marketing, that's what I think of as marketing. It's storytelling. So what is the story that you're telling about, not necessarily even your own business? It could be something that you read that you want to react to, that in some way helps establish your personality even more in the community and such. But it's, you're a storyteller. Well, Sullivan, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Isaac, I wanted to turn to you, as the filmmaker that you are. When people think of video for business, it's fair to say that most people think immediately of social media. But is there anywhere else that a company or brand can use video?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a short answer. Absolutely. You should use video everywhere. But yeah, I actually had a thought for Sullivan my brain is here. We were talking about how do you post and where you post your content, how do you keep coming up with content, and that you're the one doing it. So Sullivan, I was just kind of thinking, like, we forget oftentimes as business owners, like when we're the ones posting on social media, just like you said, like they're here for you. And then like business owner, like, let me tell you, like you're the one doing it. You're the one who's here today, showing up for the people who are there. Everybody's going to want, a photo, but you're the one who's talking to them today. And your marketing is you saying like, hey, I'm available. And sure, there might be other photographers, there might be other videographers, there might be other PR people, but like I'm here today and I want to help you. And that goes a huge way. So I don't know why that was like in my mind. Brad, your question, having like, is there a spot for video? Yeah, video should go anywhere where there's an intentional conversation. I was, thinking about, what are the resources that business owners are trying to usually do when they're doing their marketing? And one of the biggest assets that we're trying to redeem is time. And so a video is, I think, one of the biggest opportunities we have to recover the time to do the actual business. So we could jump onto a meeting like this one, like Leslie was saying earlier. Like we want to be a part of a lunch and learn. You want to get out and talk. A video is a tool that you should be deploying anywhere where you're spending time, throughout the day. Social media is super duper downstream. So for me, and what I recommend anybody who's thinking about getting into the world of video and using video for their business, it needs to be a tool that saves them time. Anywhere where there's an intentional conversation upstream and it follows the marketing funnel down, put a video where you're spending those conversations, whether it's an introduction, whether it's, the quick pitch that you're trying to do when somebody's, if you've ever picked up the phone and people ask the standard questions of like, what time are you guys open, or how much does it cost, or do you take my insurance? Like anything that is a normal conversation you have over and over and over again, you should be able to stick a video into that spot, and it's going to save you the time and lock you in, which is another thing businesses typically have a hard time with, into like your business plan. And then you're going to be able to say, great, that conversation is ready to go. I'm going to go do more networking. And marketing everything is marketing. So you got to get out there. You got to talk to people. You got to have conversations. And, the social media is so far downstream because it constantly points to all the other times when you're going to have real conversations. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for video outside of just social media. In my company, we've identified 7 particular modalities. And if anybody's ever interested in that, I'd be happy to tell them about the 7 modalities of those conversations that are before you even get to social media.
And what do you find is the biggest hurdle for business owners when it comes to video? What's holding them back from making videos?
A lot of people, the number one thing is getting in front of a camera. That's for a lot of people, they just have a hard time saying like, how do I get in front of a camera? And I feel you. It's not a comfortable place. It's not an awesome space. I don't love the sound of my own voice, but practicing is a huge part of that. Even if you don't show it to anybody, practicing is a big part of that. biggest hurdle to video. I think people think of gear as well, and that they need gear for the videos. I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I only had a camera or if only I had a microphone. It turns out everybody's got 3 cameras in their pocket right now. And this is an incredibly powerful tool. Then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, and any one of those would be fine. I hate to say it, but the standards for what we accept as quality video have actually come down. So we can hold a cell phone and people accept that, and it's totally fine. So the bigger thing is to, spend some time writing out what you want to talk about and figuring out those questions. And that's another big hurdle for folks.
That's what you just said there is key, isn't it? It's the content of what you're saying on video is really key. So you don't need a supersonic camera. You need to have thought about what you want to say, correct? You need to have taken the time to really think it through, and then you'll be way more confident when you're on camera because you've thought it out. You've prepared. So I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it's very important to think it through beforehand. Okay, great.
Just one sec, Brad. I just want to remind the audience that we're going to be starting a Q&A very soon. So anytime you guys have any questions, you don't have to wait. Start populating them in the chat right away, and we will get to all those questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And so on that note, Chris, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
All right. If I'm a business owner, how do I get my business to show up in the Google Map Pack? And what is the Google Map Pack?
Okay. Well, first, I want to apologize because I usually have a virtual background on, and now you guys get to see my love of Harry Potter and Star Wars. So, and my messy home office. My other office is not like this, but this is my comfortable office.
Yeah, if you could take a moment to clean up your office, we'll all wait. It's okay.
I did already, so that's why I'm in black for a day. So,
okay.
All right. So Matt, so this is an interesting question. So that question, in full disclosure here, we actually submitted some questions a couple months ago to prep for this so that we have some, solid questions and answers for you guys. And it just so happens that the way Google is moving is so fast sometimes that question is actually outdated now. Google is actually working on replacing the map pack with overview suggestions. And so for the last 10 years, the holy grail of local SEO was the map pack, those 3 things that you see on your phone with the little address and call and directions. And getting into that top 3 for a business was kind of the holy grail of where you want to be to get your calls, your traffic, and get your customers. Well, Google has started moving away from that now and is going into AI overview search, where it's just giving 1 or 2 answers. And that is really, and replacing the map pack altogether. So now you just have, who's the best plumber in Long Beach, and you just have 1 definitive answer instead of 3 coming up there. So they're changing the game, and it's really moving. Now, to answer your question on how do we get there? How do we, adjust to that? There's many things that you need to do, but I say the 2 biggest ones, if I had to just narrow it down to a couple, I say the first one would be to optimize your Google business listing completely. Make sure it's completely filled out. Make sure you're active on it. You're posting on that on a regular basis. You're answering reviews. You're getting reviews on a regular basis. It's not so many how many reviews you have, it's how often you get reviews on a consistent basis. Also, how fast do you answer those reviews? If you answer those reviews within 24 hours, you do a higher trust signal to AI. AI is watching everything now. It's reading your reviews, it's reading your responses to the reviews. The more detailed your reviews are from customers, like if they talk about the service, the place, AI is really looking at that now. Making sure your Google business profile is fully optimized, you're posting regularly, you're getting Google reviews on a regular basis, you're adding photos, high quality photos, before and after photos of your team, just really good quality photos on a weekly basis is also a huge part of that. So really kind of dialing in your Google business listing. And then the second thing that I see probably like 90% or higher of small businesses miss is schema markup on their websites. AI uses schema to read your website pretty much. And if you don't have the right schema code on your website, you're missing out huge opportunities to rank. So I would say my top 2 tips for appearing in that AI overview would be optimizing your Google business listing and then getting the correct schema markup code on your website.
Can you talk a little bit more about the schema markup? What just for those of us who've never heard of that before, what is that?
So basically, schema, you can go to like schema.org and find out what type of business, that you're in. So is it a local service? Is it a product? Is it a restaurant? And then you can go, AI makes this really easy. There's also plugins that you can do. It's a little bit technical, but basically it is code that kind of tells the AI a little bit more about your business and what type it is. Is it like FAQ schema? Is it a local service? It's just code that you put into the header of your website that gives it a kind of a quick detailed breakdown of what you're doing and who you are and who you service.
And how do you spell schema?
SCHEMA.
Yeah, it wasn't a sarcastic question. I was just for those who might not know.
I think that's right. Yeah, SCHEMA. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it does sound pretty technical. So you might a business owner might want to work with somebody to tackle that world.
Yeah, if you don't have experience with a bit of that, but like I said, AI is making it a little bit easier where you can kind of go and use something like ChatGPT to help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you would just answer a couple questions and then it would generate the code for you. And then you cut and paste that code into your header. And if you can handle those couple things, then you can do it on your own. If you're like, I don't even know what a header is, I don't know what you're talking about, then you probably want to hire an expert to come in and help you out.
Got it. Okay. I know a header is like when you're playing soccer and you just head it into the goal. There's that. I know that. So let's look at some questions. Judy, do we have any questions in the chat?
I do actually. One question is, what are common marketing mistakes you see small businesses make?
What are common marketing mistakes you see small businesses take? Well, Leslie, do you want to take that one?
Sure. And I think we'd all agree that you need to be deliberate in your marketing. And what happens is a small business, they're passionate about whatever their product is and they're taking it out to market and they feel like I can put a sign up and that's all there is. And then I I need social media. Okay. And they just start posting like quotes because they don't know what kind of content to create and they don't have a plan. So they haven't created a marketing plan. In the process of creating that marketing plan, they'll discover exactly who they are, what they stand for, how they need to communicate that using all of the tools talked about here today. They skip the objectives and the strategies. They go right to the tactics and they want to use the tools, but they don't know how to use the tools. So it's like using the wrong screwdriver. Right? The Phillips head is not going to work in the flathead screw, right? And so they need to learn how to use their marketing tools effectively and deliberately and strategically so that they will see the results they want and know what those results are. They're like, well, I want to sell more. Duh. Well, okay, there's a little bit more to that. What do you want people to feel when they talk about you? How do you want to stand up in the community? What do you want to be known for? Not just a great plate of food, but what else? So, those PR elements are important. So all of those things would come to light if you put together a marketing plan.
It's like what Chris was saying, just when you were talking about Google My Business, updating it every week, being consistent and with fresh photos and regular. So, just sometimes we think we've done whatever we need to do with the tools that we have, and then we don't necessarily pay attention to them anymore, right? And
that's probably one of the biggest things I see on my end from small businesses is they'll get really gung-ho and they'll get like 10 reviews and they'll put up 25 pictures and they'll post a bunch of stuff all inside of a week, and then they'll forget about it for like 3 to 4 months. And they don't do it.
Yeah, it's not one and done. Yeah, it's a process.
Great. All right. Excellent. What's the next question, Judy?
I have one more.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Isaac, you had something?
When the time comes, I actually have a question. So don't let me jump in too early, but I do have one just in case.
Okay, Judy.
I have a question. Our business is not conducted at our location. We go to the client, which is an entire Southern California market. So Google Maps doesn't really apply. What are your suggestions for a company like ours?
It's a good question.
I would still say Google Maps does apply because just because they're not, Google Maps is not just getting directions to your business. There's 2 types of Google Business profile is basically what we're saying. It's not necessarily Google Maps, but you have a service-based business and then you have a brick and mortar business. So you would be under the service-based business and you still will have a Google business profile and you can still show up for a wider region. It will take into the fact where even though you're hiding your address on there, it will take into, your location. It will be a factor, a ranking factor. So obviously if you're based out of Long Beach, you're not going to really rank too well for San Diego or San Francisco, but you will get the greater kind of like Long Beach plus, you can get a little south, Seal Beach, maybe Huntington Beach and down there. But as a service-based business, you still would want to pay attention to your Google business profile. They don't have to have directions directly to you.
Excellent.
And Dana, can I just chime in? Because word of mouth, it's repeat and referral, your two main ways of getting business. So I know you have loyal customers that repeat all the time and they're referring you out, that will take you out to those outer parts. So make sure you're asking for those referrals on a regular basis. That's helpful. And I do know, Dana, that you guys have had some great earned media. Earned media is that which, comes from a newspaper following you or, writing a story about you or a magazine. I think you were in Westways, I think, or Sunset or something. You had some good press. So those kinds of things have a higher reach. And then when you share those on your social, then it's exponential out there. So I think you have more than just Google at your disposal. And you've done a good job. I would say that.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I just want to step in and echo both what Chris and Leslie are saying, and also tie it into the first question too. One of the mistakes that business owners make is the transactions being a one-off. So business owners should all be communicating with their current customers as well regularly via email, via social media, and via SMS, text message, whatever way they have available to them, because these are the individuals that are already supporting your brand. They already like what it stands for. They already like you and they've already bought. And so communicating with them is key as well.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So what's next? Judy, you have another question?
I have one more in here. How do you measure marketing when you're a small business?
How do you measure marketing when you're a small business? So I guess okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no. This is a super interesting one to me because a lot of what I do is also building a brand. And when you're building a brand, you ask, people are asking about ROI and how do we measure it? And it's also a common mistake. So obviously, one of the things we're looking for, the big three, there's brand awareness, there's conversions, and then there's engagement. Those are sort of the ones that are the low-hanging fruit. People can look at. You kind of are looking for ticks up in those ways for marketing. Those are the known ones. But when it comes to building a brand, especially if you've got employees, something else to be on the lookout for is company culture. If your company culture is increasing, if the people that you're working with are enthused and excited and you're not having constant turnover and strife inside of the company, well, once you get big enough, then maybe the strife in the company is a sign that you're also growing fast enough. At any rate, there's a happy bell curve of when the people inside of your space and your company culture is increasing, then it's working. It's really, really working. Your PR is working. Your marketing is working. The conversations you're having, it's doing its job. Because people have clarity. When you've got a lot of good marketing happening, the customers are coming in, you've got a good flow of communication in and out, you have enough resources, and ideally one of those is money and time, or two of those, money and time, to be able to kind of give your company what it needs. And marketing provides a lot of that lifeblood to see the company culture improve. And so that to me is a huge one that I have to remind people, look for how you feel about what's going on in your company. If you're feeling enthused and excited, and if people are happy and there's clarity with what's going on around you, stuff is going good.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would echo that the brand consideration and your brand recognition as well is a measurement. If let's say your social media isn't where you wanted and you're not, doing email marketing and things of that nature, but your customers say something specific about you. And that is the reputation you have in the neighborhood or whatever that case may be. That's what you play on. That's what you put on social media. That's what you lead with, because that's what people are already resonating with. And that's what they're saying about you already.
Right. Those conversion points. I'm sorry, Chris, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say those conversion points. So you can have 1 million followers, but if nobody buys from you, then why are they following you? So maybe it's just your entertainment, and maybe then you move your product. Maybe you're really a stand-up comic. You need to shift your own goal. You need to pivot. So look at that data, but until it converts, it's not necessarily working, quote unquote. So it's more than your open rate. It's more than your followers. It's where are you making your money? How is that happening? So pay attention to that. Like, keep track of all the different channels that you're using. And you have to ask people, how did you find me? I'm always amazed when people say, oh, I just found you in a Google search. And I'll say, what keywords did you search for? And they're not necessarily keywords that I've put out there before. So stuff happens magically. I don't know. So, then I can lean into that. Okay, so that person was looking for that. And is this the client I want to get more of? Then I can lean into that kind of thing. But you have to ask and follow the data.
I was going to kind of piggyback on what Sullivan and Isaac were saying, and then I'm going to actually come back to what Leslie was saying too. So first off, with the way AI and search or local SEO is going, local SEO is kind of merging into AI overview search, and it's going to get more and more that way. And brand mentions, having your company in like Sunset Magazine, like Leslie was saying, or being on top 10 lists, like top 10 digital marketers of whatever. If you win awards, stuff like that, all of those AI really takes into consideration, and those are more important than ever. Also making sure like your citations, like being on all the directories, that used to be a very old SEO tactic, and it actually has come around all the way back in. So now it's more important than ever. It kind of died off the last 5 years, and now it's back to the forefront of having your business name, address, and phone number 100% accurate across all the directories. And if you're a service business, obviously you just take the address part out of that. Now, to get back to what Leslie was saying, the original question was on measurement. Me being a digital marketer, I go by Google Analytics, I go by conversion tracking. All of those are great. I follow them, I monitor them very closely. Google Search Console I look at on a regular basis. I go over these numbers once a month with all my clients in a Zoom call similar to this, and we go over the metrics. But all the numbers and all the followers and even the conversions that with my conversion tracking don't mean anything if the phone is not ringing and you're not getting sales or clients. And so that's the true number. And that's the reason why I like to meet with my clients, is to get that feedback from them. I even tell them, like, text me if it's slow and the phone's not ringing. I want to know right away so I can make adjustments, because I can look at my numbers and say, hey, you got 400 visits to your website this week, but if 400 people came and nobody called you, who cares? So it really bottoms down to, I always say, the ultimate tracking goal is your bank account. Did your bank account go up or did it go down? That's the one that really what everybody cares about, right? So that's kind of the ultimate tracking thing, is your bank account.
Well, it depends on one's spending habits too.
Well, hopefully money coming in. I can't
there's that.
on expenses. Yeah, that's a you problem.
If you need to learn a balance sheet, Brad and the SPDC can help you learn how to do a balance sheet.
That's right. That's right. So these are all excellent questions and great answers. I appreciate it. Judy, is there anybody else who's okay? Got it. Wait, Isaac?
Isaac has.
Oh, can I ask my question? I was writing them down. Okay.
It costs you $2.
I got it for you. Is a $2 bill okay?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, I'll mail it to you. So heading back to our very beginning, Leslie, question for you with PR. As you were talking, I was beginning to think this is cool, but it seemed like there's a big gap from 0 to 1. A lot of the tools and practices you were talking about, like if I don't have any PR, if I'm kind of getting started, how do I, what are my very first steps if you are working with a brand new business? I mean, imagine it's me and I haven't done any work on PR stuff. What are some of the very first things that I can do to get started into that space?
Absolutely. Well, first thing you do is you join a group like the Chamber of Commerce, because there are so many things set up for you right there. So you join the chamber, and the chamber is a tool. It does not. People say, oh, it didn't work for me. And then you say, did you go to Good Afternoon Long Beach every month? No. That never worked for me. I couldn't do Tuesdays. Okay, well, did you go to the lovely mixers that they set up almost quarterly? No. Did you join any of the business groups? Did you go to the lunch and learns? No, 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 no. So they bought that tool and they put it in a toolbox and they expected it to work for them. A directory is not enough. Apparently it helps on your AI, so it'll be good. And I do know when I Google myself, the chamber listing does come up, but just being in the directory is not enough. When you have these things show up, you have to move your feet. So you have to go to those things and work them. So you go to the Good Afternoon Long Beach luncheon, you get the lay of the land. Who here are my referral sources? Try to make good relationships with 2 or 3 people each time you go. You don't have to meet every single person and expect that to pay off with a referral. If I go to a Good Afternoon Long Beach and I meet the 3 of you and I say, wow, we can all work together because you guys don't write press releases, right? So can the 4 of us go to lunch one day? Okay, that's an attribute of PR. That's exercising that PR. Hey, I think I'm going to do a grand opening. So, and I'm home based. I'll do it at a local restaurant and maybe I can trade them and do a little PR for the local restaurant and I'll name them a sponsor of the thing, whatever. And we can go from there. And, I'll pay them for the food, but, maybe they'll give me a drink ticket for each person or something. Right. So now I'm collaborating with somebody local. I'm collaborating with you guys. I have you guys say, can you all invite your clients to this? And we can work out an affiliate situation where we're going to work together. Maybe we have a complete project, a complete package that works together. I'm on to something here, guys. So we have this whole thing and we sell this package that they pay over time and it's a year-long project. And, part coaching, part we do it for you, right? And then now I've built up a network in a very short amount of time just from moving my feet. So being intentional about what's going to happen, what am I looking for, being vulnerable enough to say, I need help and I think I can help you. And having that leverage back and forth, I will refer you clients, Levin, and feel free to refer me clients too, and we can work something out so it's equitable for both of us. And then, so I plan my grand opening and I send out a press release and I contact a couple reporters and say, this is who I am. Do you want to come? Please, if you put it, ahead of time, give me some advance. And please come. I'd love to meet you and see how things are going. And by the way, all of this is outlined in this book I wrote, The Laws of Promotion. So it's very easy to follow this. It's 3 laws. So this is the first thing you have to do because as Newton said, the laws of motion, a body at rest stays at rest and a body in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. So, when you're busy with your business, you have great momentum. You are sending out there like, I am a great person to work with. People want to work with me. I'm reasonably priced and I get you good results. And it's easy. You have that confidence because you're busy. And then people want to refer you like, wow, look at that person. She's on fire. And so you have that momentum. So once you start putting it in motion, it keeps going. And then you can go from there. But so in that process, we've utilized a couple different tools in a public relations setting. We're moving around. So, we've put together a press release. We've sent out invitations. I've made contact with the media. I've built up a network. I've established a relationship with a local restaurant. See, so now it keeps growing. And then I've asked all those people for referrals. And then I've come up with in my head, okay, I send each of those people a box of See's candy at holidays and anytime they refer me, right? Everybody likes a Southern California treat like See's candy, right? And in the background, I've spruced up my brand, and maybe with your help, right? So I have a nice logo, I have nice stationery, nice business cards or a mechanism for contacting me. And all of those things are built up. But I'm leading with that PR of me personally going out there and doing these things and building those relationships. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and if I could tag on to that as well, use the resources that you have available to you and or the resources that are around you. And so, for example, podcasts are a wonderful medium for promotions and spreading awareness. Contact podcasters in your industry, in your field, and talk about what you do or what you sell and say, hey, I have this. Can I be on your show? It sounds, cheesy to ask someone, can you be on their show? But, think about it just the way, same way small business owners are looking for content. Podcasters are also looking for content. And so you might be doing them a solid by asking them to be on on their show with your product or offering. And so you are the expert of that product or offering, so you can go on a podcast and talk about that with no problem. And that gets amplification and it's evergreen. So use the resources around you. If there's a local influencer in your community that's really doing well, invite that person to partner with you as well, or invite that person into the fold and have them help amplify your message as well. So outside of, as Isaac mentioned, the little steps that you could even do before you actually get to a point where you're putting together these full-fledged press releases and sending them out, things of that nature, using social media to contact these people are a quick start.
This is great. I mean, one thing I would just want to add to that before we ask a few more questions is an important part of the networking that Leslie's talking about, or that you're talking about, Sullivan, is it's important for you to have your story down as the business owner that you are. Because if you're going to be networking and introducing yourself to new people and so on and so forth, you're going to be asked, what do you do? And you want to be able to be succinct and passionate about what you do. And I think for some companies that I've interacted with, they're a little bit general in describing what they do. And you want to be able to you want your story to identify the problem or problems that you solve as the business that you have, the business that you are. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing, and what are the problems that you solve? And when I say problem, it's not a negative thing. It could be that you're the only HVAC company within a certain geographic area that can do what you do. That's the problem that you're solving, because the problem is there isn't an HVAC company in the area. If you're there, you're solving that problem. So think of yourself as the business owner that you are, as somebody who solves a problem. Could be a restaurant, you could be certainly a service provider, and then think about how you want to tell that story. So when you're in that networking situation, or when you're on camera, when you're doing your video, whatever the case might be, that you've really practiced it, and you've made it clear as to why you do what you do, and maybe even more important, why are you the green apple out of all the red apples? Why you? Why should customers come to you and not to other organizations? What is it that makes you stand out? And to think about that, it's slightly philosophical and very creative and so on and so forth, but it's worth the effort, because once you go through that step of being able to truly articulate what you do and why you do it, that can be translated into, on your website. It could be in your flyers, it could be in your press releases, it could be in your Google My Business, and in your Yelp. Your story is really, really important, and to think it through carefully is worth it. I
I just
wanted
want to
to,
back real quick
yeah,
on that one. Like you said, on your website, it's so important. The worst thing you could put on your homepage is "Welcome to my website." Announcing the problem and solving the problem, being the solution to the problem, like stating the problem and then having a solution on your homepage is best practice for that, instead of just saying "Welcome to my website." You want people to know
yeah,
exactly what you're doing, what you do, or what problems you can solve and how you can solve them, and the proof of that too. So
Yeah.
very
yeah.
important.
I agree. Get rid of the flowery language and cut to the chase, and tell people what you're able to help them with.
Right.
So are you guys up for a few more questions?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. So I wanted to, Chris, just sort of as a follow up about sort of what we've been talking about, when it comes to Google reviews and getting reviews, how do I, as a business owner, approach my customers and to ask for reviews without seeming annoying?
That's a fine line that you can walk through. I mean, it's extremely important to get reviews, and on a consistent basis. One of the things I just want to highlight right now is, if you have a competitor that has, say, 1,000 Google reviews, but they haven't gotten a single new Google review in 6 months, and you have 100 reviews, but you've been consistently getting a review every week, you're going to outperform that other person in search because you've been more consistent. It's all about what you're getting lately. It's not what you built up.
Okay.
It's about what you're getting lately. And then I think it's just creating a culture in your company to ask for reviews. And there's multiple ways you can do that. You can, some of my clients, they'll have like a little QR code on like a picture and then just ask for the review after the plumbing service is done and say, this is one of the best ways that you can, that helps us as a business, and just be sincere. Another way is built into your CRMs. A lot of them have options to put in like Yelp or Google reviews and send an email afterwards and say, please, review us. There's been some that kind of, and I know Yelp frowns on this a lot. I'm not sure if Google does or not, where you kind of go into a gatekeeping page, and like, if you didn't like our service, it will route you over here and we'll give you a call. If you do like our service, go leave a 5-star review on Yelp or Google. I know Yelp really frowns on that, but I feel like if you're doing a good job, you're going to get the 5. Most people are pretty gracious. When you do get that 1-star or 2-star review, you got to remember no one's perfect all the time. And there's some people out there that are just grumpy people. And a lot of people understand that. And it's easy for me to say, I know I would be devastated if I got a 1-star review, and I try to practice it, but it makes you seem like a more real company because no one's perfect all the time, especially the more people. I mean, if you're like a restaurant, you're getting reviews multiple a day sometimes. You're not going to be able to please everybody. I mean, you should strive for it, but you're not always going to be able to get, have a perfect 5.0. And what I like to suggest for my people is when you're answering reviews, good or bad, but especially bad, remember when you're responding to those reviews, you're not necessarily responding to the person that wrote the review. You're responding to everybody that's going to read that review.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important to do that in a timely manner so you can tell your side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure to do that. But to answer kind of go back to answer your question, is just to be persistent and build in your culture that it's just you kind of automate it as much as you can to ask for those reviews on a consistent basis. Don't just do it all at once. In fact, if you got 20 reviews in a day, you probably get flagged and they would think they were bots. So you want to slow drip reviews in, like 1 a week is
Okay.
ideal for most businesses. Restaurants actually, can go a little higher because it's high. It just depends on the volume of the business.
There's a great book on the topic called Hug Your Haters.
Hug your haters.
Chris, can you leave more than one review on Google for the same company?
Theoretically, yes, if they have multiple locations. So if you have,
Okay.
if they should have one listing in each location. But what you probably wouldn't theoretically do it is, would I advise it? No. What you could do is leave a review on Google, leave a review on Facebook if the company enables that, and then also Yelp, and you can leave a review on those if you want to leave more than one review.
Because you mentioned the plumber. So every time we have an old house, so we have the plumber on speed dial. And every time he says, leave me a review, I'm like, it goes to, when I click on it, it goes to my last review. And I'm like, should I update it just to make it more timely for him? Or I'm like, I already left one.
If you already left the review, I mean, you could update it once in a while if it's something extraordinary that he did, but like he's practicing what I'm preaching right now, is
Exactly right.
being consistent and answering, asking everybody. But if you already left the review, you already left the review. You could put one on Yelp for him, and that would help him out. Or even better, if you started like a Reddit thread or something like that, or next door neighbor. If you really like your
That's nice.
for everybody listening, the best thing
can
you
of
can
words.
do to help a small business is leave a positive review. And then also, like, in your Facebook group, not just Google and Yelp, but you can go on Facebook groups. You can go, post, share their posts. Any of those little things help out small businesses tremendously. So just keep
Every
that in
one of
mind.
us who's
Do that.
Sorry, speaking here today as a small business, if any one thing we said was helpful, all of us would appreciate a review. Hey, we saw these guys on Lunch and Learn. And that's kind of why we're popping up onto these things.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Isaac. Don't be afraid to ask.
That's right. Hey,
I think we have a chat, something on the chat too.
yeah.
by the
Do
way.
we have any questions, Judy?
Yes. For new businesses or someone who may not be as marketing savvy and need to farm out their marketing, the choices and decisions they require can be daunting. Who do they hire for what?
You
I
hire
think it's
all of us.
So, yeah, right. Anyway, I would say hire the person that you resonate with, the person that you communicate well with, that you feel the communication is transparent and free flowing and easy with, because you and that person will communicate quite a bit. And if there's challenges in the beginning, you should know that right away.
Right. And there are people who will do everything for you, or there are people who niche down. And so I think you need to have in mind what you think you need, and then go into the discovery session with, if you think you need a specialist in a certain area, like organic social media, like Sullivan, and then he says, okay, well, I think we need to do some other things. He'll either be able to bring in some contractors to help or refer you to somebody else or whatever. I think most people will be that upfront with you and let you know what they can or cannot do.
There's a trifecta: quality, pedigree, and repeatability. There's high quality, there's sort of a trust factor, and then there's how much product they've done, how much services they've done. You might have somebody who's cheap and has high quality, but they don't have a lot of people that they've worked with. And so you kind of roll the dice on that. You kind of have to pick two. You might get somebody who's got low quality, but they're cheap and they've got a lot of work. So you're going to have to kind of do some arithmetic to find the workers. And, those are sort of the three that I identify.
And really the idea is,
go ahead.
sorry, Chris, I was going to say that real quick. The idea is really just filling the gaps of where you can't perform, or the gap of what you can't do. So think about that too. Go ahead, Chris, sorry.
And then the thing I would say is ask for some case studies. I always say the proof is in the pudding, kind of thing. So definitely case studies can help out with that. And Brad, we do need to start wrapping up.
Yeah, I think we're going to wrap up. One final comment I'd like to contribute to that question is, it's going to sound simplistic, but the first thing is to really understand, if you're struggling with trying to figure out how to get started with marketing and you can't do it, and you don't think you can do it, and you need to hire out and so on and so forth, just take a step back and I think Leslie was saying, you identify sort of what your needs are, and start with your story. Start with getting your story together so that you know what it is you want to say about your products or services. And then think about the target audience that you are going after and be very specific about that, because that'll help guide you in terms of, if you know who you're trying to reach, then you can start thinking about how best to reach them. So I know that sounds simplistic, but it's a good starting point before you dive into thinking, oh, am I going to hire this person or hire that person? Just what am I saying? So
real quick, and just shameless plug here, I do a free SEO audit. So if you're not sure if you need SEO or not, I'll take a look at your stuff and tell you if you do.
How do you spell SEO? I just wanted to get that. So I want to thank everybody for participating today. I'd like to thank the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce for getting all this pulled together and for putting on these lunch and learns. I think we're going to have a few more this year, so stay tuned. Some of them are going to be online, some of them will be in person, but stay tuned. We're doing everything we can to offer as much helpful and useful information to everybody that we can. And I want to say to Leslie and Chris and Isaac and Sullivan, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. It's much appreciated. And Judy, thank you so much. And Stuart, thank you so much. Stuart's the invisible man, but he's the man behind the curtain, making sure this all runs well. So to everybody, thank you for coming, and I hope this has been helpful. And I'd like to get an email from everybody telling me what you had for lunch during this lunch and learn.
And Brad, since we're still in the shameless plug portion of it, I just want to say, visit our website, conceptlabmktg.com. And I have a ebook on social media tactics, tips, and tools, and things that you could do right away to improve your social media.
You got it. All right. Well, Judy, anything else you think we should?
I just want to thank you, Brad. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you all for participating.
Well, thank you. Everybody be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank
Bye.
you.